What's up, everybody? Hope y'all are doing good. So, y'all, I get a lot of questions about asking what is it like living in the South, where I do, and being a gay man. I have people ask me, is it hard, or they kind of maybe have some misconceptions of what it's like to live here. And I honestly can say that it's not as bad in my experience. I'm sure there are people out there who have experienced worse. But from what I have experienced, to me, it's not as bad as I think mainstream media and people play it on to be. I definitely think it's a little over dramatic. Some of the stuff that people think that happens around here and goes on. Because y'all, the area that I live in, I mean, I live in the deep South in the Appalachian Mountain region. I mean, this area is backwoodsy. This is about as country as you can get when it comes to being around country people. This is kind of where you get your definition of hillbilly from. And they're nice people, but around this area, I mean, it's a truth that they are not as educated as people in other parts of the country. Very, very religious around here, the Bible Belt, and very backwards, and just set in their ways about stuff. They don't like change. Things have been going on around through here the same way for probably hundreds of years. People don't ever really leave, and people don't ever really move in here either. So it's pretty much, if you're from here like me, I mean, your family has been here for hundreds and hundreds of years, for generations. So this land is in our blood pretty much. But I look back at when I came out as a teenager. My parents and my family did not handle it very well. It definitely was something that it hurt them real bad because of the way they grew up. So I don't get mad about that. I mean, when it first happened, yeah, I was pretty pissed off because they didn't accept it right off. But the older I get, I really realized that that's all they knew, because they've come around so much. Because my mother was raised by a Pentecostal preacher. And then his father was a preacher, and then on my dad's side, his grandpa was a preacher. So I have a lot of religion and a lot of preachers, in my life and in my family tree. So, naturally, old-timey preachers like that, they're not going to be very open-minded about stuff. So, my parents grew up, hearing that homosexuality and being gay it was wrong, that it was a sin. And if someone is gay, well, it's because they chose to be that way. And, they get whatever problems come their way, they deserve it. So that's what the majority of people around here do think, the older generation. But, I look back when I was in high school, I was having trouble with my family from my parents, and some of my other relatives of the older generation. But in my school, the kids that were my age and my generation, there was a few kids, it was mainly other boys, of course, but, they made little comments, little remarks, didn't agree with it, didn't like it, whatever. But overall, there was such a huge difference in the way my generation in high school reacted to it than, let's say, my parents. They were a lot more okay with it. They were a lot more open-minded. They didn't really seem as put off by it, I guess. And things just, as far as dealing with people my age, things went, pretty smooth. And, the people that I have dated in the past, been in relationships with, they were also born and raised down here in the South. They were from this area. And a few people, their families didn't really like it. But overall, their families were okay with it. They didn't really seem to get upset about it, or, act like it was some weird thing and that it was evil and sinful. So, looking back, definitely my family was more of the one that didn't, take very kindly, didn't take very well to it. And so, that always kind of disappointed me. And, I used to wish it was the opposite, but now the older I get, looking back at it, it's like, I've learned like so many valuable lessons, and, just kind of what, when I have my own child, the ways that I'm going to react, and, how I'm going to feel about stuff, and how I will choose to react about certain things. Me and my parents and my family going through that, dilemma that we went through, and all that disagreeing, we're a lot stronger. We have a lot stronger relationship now because of that. So, I think everything serves its purpose. So it really, it did serve its purpose to me and in my life, I feel. But, around this general area, You don't really have people walking around here that are just, talking hard like, oh, I just can't stand gay people, and oh, they're disgusting, or they're throwing obscene gestures at people that they think are gay. No, it's really not like that. Because I've read in some articles and stuff, and like on social media, some of the ways that people think the South is, they're not that bad. I mean, they may have been that bad, back in the 1800s when, all that shit was going on with, the South has a pretty messed up history. But it's not like that now, y'all. It's not. And I have some people that I've seen online that, on my YouTube channel, they know that I live in South Carolina, and it's like they just get so offended that I choose to live here and that I want to live here, and how they would never even enter into the South. And I think that's silly. I mean, because down here it's not an evil place at all. It's beautiful. The folks here are nice for the most part. I mean, every area of any part of the world is going to have rude people and people that are not very good moral people. But here, people are friendly. When I lived out in St. Louis, I lived right in the middle of the of the whole damn city. And people out there, to me, were not as friendly. They were more kind of focused on themselves and, kind of kept their eyes straight ahead when they were walking past you and stuff. But it didn't bother me. It didn't offend me or whatever. But there is a difference between, the South and the other places that I've been to culturally, and people around here are friendlier. They will greet you. It's definitely part of Southern culture to be very hospitable to people, whether they come into your home, whether you pass them by, if you know them, you speak. If they wave at you, you wave back. And also, one thing about the South that I do like, y'all, is the food is so good. It is so good. When I lived out in the Midwest, the food was good there too, but the South, you can tell it's definitely kind of ingrained in our souls to make just some really damn good food. I've never, any parts of the world and the places that I've been to, I never really have had food that I liked as much as the food that I ate growing up. There's some foods here I don't like. Like, I don't eat chitlins and stuff. I'm not a real big meat eater in general, but the food is good, and the landscape around here and the weather is good too. Like, I love, the one thing about being in the South is the beaches that we have. I live in the mountains, in the Appalachian Mountains, so the mountains here are beautiful. But also like down at the coast and stuff, all the palm trees and the Spanish moss. And I love flat land, kind of flat with open fields, like a parts of South Carolina and Georgia that are like primarily agricultural based. I think it's so beautiful seeing all those fields of the different crops and stuff, like tobacco, peanuts, corn, cotton, sometimes wheat. Tobacco is my favorite though. It's so pretty to watch it bloom. So, you come down through here in these areas, and I mean, it's a pretty sight to see, I have to admit. The weather down here is nice. It's very sunny in the summertime, very, very hot, very, very humid. But in the wintertime, the part of South Carolina that I live in up in the mountains, we get more snow than any of, the rest of the state. And even us, we don't get a tremendous amount of snow. We'll get a big snow. We usually snows about once or twice a year, and that's it. It does not constantly snow all winter long. So, I definitely understand why people from up north, where it snows all winter long, would want to come down here, because it's a completely different thing. Our winters down here are usually pretty sunny. They can be a little rainy too. It's rainier here in the wintertime than it is the summertime. I've noticed that for whatever reason. But overall, living down here, y'all, I'm happy here. I had my opportunity. I moved away. I saw a lot of this country. I saw a lot of the world. And I came back here to live for, some pretty valid reasons. I feel like, my family is from here. I'm closer to my family. And to me, it's a beautiful place down here, and it's really not anything like people make it out to be. And I hear some of these people talk about the South, or, and some of it's people that used to live here. I understand people have bad experiences. Nobody can tell you how to feel about something that you went through. I mean, that's not what what I'm saying at all. But I definitely think a lot of it stems from people they're bitter, I guess, towards, like, I was bitter towards my family. And so therefore, them being Southern, like, I was bitter towards a lot of people, like just the South in general. I thought they all were jerks and assholes, but it's really not like that. So y'all, if any of y'all get the opportunity to really come down south and just kind of look around and see, just our way of life, and see all the landscape and all the different plants and stuff down here. I love plants, so that's like one thing I'm always looking out for whenever I go to different parts of the state, different parts of the country, is what kind of trees and stuff grow, just because I'm a nerd like that. But y'all should really check it out down here. It's really not that bad. And I'm thankful and glad that this is where I am from. I used to be ashamed of it, and I used to hate that I was from the South, but now I love it the older I get, because I really realize that I grew up in a beautiful place, and I'm very lucky to live here. Even though it may not have the best history, even though some of the people, may not have the best reputations, I'm very blessed and very thankful for where I'm from and where I got to spend my childhood. And so, guys, I appreciate y'all watching this video. Like this video, subscribe to my channel. I'm almost at 10,000 subscribers. And this is the biggest blessing ever. I'm so thankful for that. So, guys, y'all have a wonderful week, and I will see y'all soon. Bye.